Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. This is what he used to look like. Um, well, let's see what this is here. I had Derek Rogers, director of construction for Christian Brothers Automotive. I think they're actually down in Texas. May 2021. It's always nice to hold it in my hands here. Let's see what I was doing in my picture. Well, I gotta show this. This was actually from our event that we did, our first hybrid event in January of 2021 over at the recording studios out down the street from the Brave Stadium, and that was an awesome event. And I was wearing my Georgia Swarm swag, and right after they had won the championship a couple years back. But this issue was, let's see, 160 pages, lots of stuff in here. We stopped printing the magazine in August of 2021 when we had White Castle on our last cover in the VP of Construction, and haven't looked back since. Don't miss the printer, don't miss the post office, and all the other stuff. And it's just been an amazing digital ride. And we get a couple of million people a month that hit the website consuming content. We've become a destination site. So all you out there on the Wild Wild Web, thank you so much for finding us and becoming unique visitors and coming back, more than once a month and seeing what we have going on CCR Magazine and our podcast, etc. So, without further ado, today my guest is out of the great, actually one of the largest cities in the country, I think, Houston, Texas. His name is Mark Collins. He's the CEO of 1-800 Plumber and Air. Mark, say hello from down in Houston to our listeners out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Yeah, no, thank you, David, for having me, and excited to be on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into your story, I do have a sponsor, and it's called Magic Mind, and I just got to plug here for a second. And Mark, have you ever heard of Magic Mind?
I'm not.
Well, I'll tell you, with my podcast, I'll be getting, people that want to do commercials. And anyway, it's basically it's not an energy drink. It actually replaces all those Red Bulls and whatever 5-hour energy. Nothing against those things, but this is all natural. It's made of all natural ingredients, mushrooms. Actually, it's got 12 ingredients. And when they reached out to me, I said, look, I don't pitch anything that I don't try. So I went over to Sprouts. They gave me my discount code. I went out and got some bottles. Actually, my wife tried it too. And after a couple of days, you actually can see a real difference. It doesn't give you that vitamin caffeine buzz because it doesn't have any of that stuff in it. And it just gives you more clarity, and you can definitely feel a difference. And then if you need a little booster shot in the afternoon, you can take it. The best thing, it's natural. And the guy who invented it, he had a heart issue. And he went to his doctor and he said, hey, what can I do about it? He goes, hey, listen, you're stressed out and you're drinking all that coffee and caffeine. And, here's some things that you can do. So he did some research, and this is actually how he came up with this thing. So I'll put the discount code in the description box. But if you haven't heard from it, you can get it at all the natural food stores. And I got mine at Sprouts. My first box, I got a box of 4. It was the last ones in there. So obviously people like it because they only have 4 bottles left. But anyway, I'm telling you, I did the energy drinks. I take vitamins, and I'll tell you, you start your day with this, and it'll go through the whole day. But I'm telling you, it makes you so much sharper and clearer, and it just doesn't give you that jittery buzz. So remember, Magic Mind, and like I said, I'll put the code and the website in there. You can check it out and give it a try. And I'm telling you, you won't be, it's definitely worth a try, and you'll be psyched that you did it. So with that said, Mark, the way that we're going to do our interview today, I do it in 3 parts. You're going to tell your story, where you grew up, where you went to school. Hey, you play any sports? I'm a coach, lax ice hockey guy. And then how you ended up where you were today. Then we're going to talk about the last 3 years of the kind of roller coaster that we've all been on, and lessons learned, and how we all weathered the storm, and what you have coming down the pike as we start 2024 out. I can't believe January is already over. I mean, I'm just amazed. I'm amazed at how quickly that January went this year. But it is February, and what your outlook is for the remainder of the year. And then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase with our listeners out there and your contact info, and then we'll close out the episode. So with that said, the floor is yours, Mark. Tell us your story.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks again, David, for having me on. So yeah, so I'm here in Houston, born and raised in Houston. This is home, and it's grown quite a bit, as you said, being one of the largest cities that we've got here in the country. Grew up, relatively simple life. Played sports most of my life. You mentioned sports. I was a soccer, and oddly enough, in Texas, I'll put this out there, but also spend a lot of my time on the beach, and surfing was a big part of my earlier days as well. But soccer was probably my most competitive sport. Not a huge guy, although I liked football. I think the sport outgrew me pretty quick.
So were
And
you a striker? What were you? What did you
yeah,
play? What was
yeah.
your
So I think in my high school days, when I was playing competitive in high school, I was fast, but they put me in the back, so I was a defender most of my high school days, and still play today as I'm aging, but still play indoor now, and I'm the old guy out there still running around, but use it to stay fit and enjoy just having some competition. So that was my sport days. I've got my kids now. I have girls that are cheerleaders, and my son's in football, and actually on the bass fishing team now. So we do a lot of competitive bass fishing, which is a fun event that I'm getting to do with my kids this time around. But yeah, just my story when it comes into you mentioned being even what got me to here now, and so I'm a master plumber here in Texas, but my family history. So just to tie this into my story, I'm a fifth generation plumber. So my family has been doing plumbing in the Houston area. My great grandfather started a company called Collins Brothers Plumbing in 1905 downtown on Milan Street. And got some pretty cool old artifacts of his shop in 1908, oddly enough, and of how they were when they got started in the industry way back then. And so it's been in my family for a long time. My father started his own business in the early 80s, was able to grow up and be a part of that. And so here I am, fifth generation, deep, and I guess it's in our blood at this point. I don't know if I had a choice. Can't really shake it when it comes to that. But that's kind of what's got me into the trades, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, you know what? You and I have something in common. My family's been in uh, recycling, demolition, construction since 1888. So
Wow.
we're fifth or sixth generation. And then I grew up outside of Philadelphia, about 45 minutes just west of Valley Forge, in a place called Pottstown. Anyway, when we got our licenses at 16, if you were a grandson, if you wanted to drive a car, you had to go work in the scrapyard. So, and I grew up down there with the cranes, and
Hmm.
I was always down there. I had an erector set, so I was, came up with construction. And my grandfather was a lieutenant colonel underneath Patton in World War II. He rebuilt all the bridges that the Allies bombed, and we've got all these really cool Super 8 video reels that we've converted to digital of all the tanks and Jeeps that came back from WW2 that they recycle. We were in recycling and sustainability before sustainability was even a word, you
Yeah,
know.
that's
But
cool.
I always appreciate people that, have kept a family gig going. And I'm sure some of those photos from back in 1905 and how plumbers were working and stuff, have got to be amazing. Am I right?
It's really cool. Yeah, and we got some really old, some of the old tools and all that stuff of, how things were done back then. The technology in the industry has advanced. It's just it's some would say it's become soft. I don't know if I would use those words, but it was the way that things were done. Back in the day, using hand drills and pouring lead on the cast iron joints, and even early on they were using wood pipe. Back then. So obviously we've evolved quite a bit since then, and it's all
And the
now
plumber
about.
jokes have gotten better too.
Well, I mean, there's the same saying, right? That seem like they always, and there's some truth. There's some truth to some of that, but yeah. So I mean, we've growing up, and it's similar. I mean, I grew up, helping clean, trying to make extra money. I remember being 10, 11 years old, and it's like going on construction sites and sweeping floors and picking up trash and working weekends and working summers, and I think I was in my real younger years, I was a cheap helper. If you could get me an icy from 7-Eleven and a Reese's peanut butter cup, I was good to go. And
Yeah.
I remember that back in the day. So, a lot of history there, good memories. They've all since then passed, but, it's up to me and a few of my brothers, kind of carrying the torch on, but, carry a lot of pride with it.
Yeah. Hey, listen, my cousins, we were all born in the same, a couple of my cousins were all born in the month of June, and we all got our license at the same time, and now they're running the business. I'm not there, but look, I build this magazine every month. Even though I'm not doing scrap metal, demolition, or shoveling asbestos, or everything else that we're laying railroad tracks, whatever we did, but I build this magazine, so I'm a constructor. I used to do with paper, ink, and all those things. And might not be using 2x4s, but I'm still using materials. Now I do it digitally, but I'm a builder. And, every month I put another issue out like today, well, my issue is already posted up on the web, but, I'll look and say, hey, I built that I'm proud of it. And, my son, he went through the trades. First, he wanted to be, an automotive mechanic. I said, if you don't have your own shop, you're not going to, let me step back. He was in high school when they had a trade school. And they didn't say, I said, look, if there's one kid that you put into the trade school, this is the one that you want to put in. Okay. He's not in English. He's not in history. He's flipping bikes and cars. He wants to work with his hands. And his boy doesn't have the math grades. So you know what I did? I yanked him out his senior year and I made him do homeschool, and he worked in the local garage. And I told him, I said, look, whatever Mr. Jeff tells you in his automotive garage, even if it's cleaning the toilets, I don't care. You do it 150%. You do the best that you can. You want to learn everything about that whole business. And so as he was working there, he looked at he wanted to be an automotive mechanic. I said, if you don't have your own shop, you're not going to make the big bucks. Then he wanted to be a motorcycle mechanic. I said, look, you can only do it in warm states. Like here in Georgia, look, I ride my bike in the spring and in the fall. In the summer, it's really hot. And if you're not riding your bike all year, it's tough to run one of those businesses. And I told him, hey, you should be an HVAC tech. I even told him to become a plumber. We'll find someone locally that doesn't have any children that, to give it to. You could become an apprentice and you can write your own ticket, because I thought becoming a plumber was the best thing because everybody uses water. All right. And, you're hot or cold, you use it to, you need to drink it, you need to wash with it, you need to cook with it. I mean, it's an essential thing. And, he said, oh, the plumber jokes. I was like, don't worry about the plumber jokes. Okay. The bottom line is there's jokes for every skill trade. I don't
Yep.
care what it is. All right. But he went the aviation route. Now he's working for Boeing. And, but the whole trade thing, if you're brought up into it, you don't know. I've had a bunch of guests where they've been family, and it's amazing that they've, how technology has improved the products and so forth, but still the way you run the business, customer service, being first class, backing up your name, you've got that nepotism going on as well, probably rivalry with your brothers and all that kind of stuff. Am I right?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
as I've got a 16-year-old son, and it's and it obviously I'm extremely passionate about the plumbing and HVAC industry. That's what we eat and, we do every single day. But it's this next generation that's coming up. I think we have a responsibility to get these. They need to be marketable. They need to be marketable of some sort. So if maybe if they're it's go to college to get that, maybe. I'm not a huge proponent of that, but developing a skill, and there's a ton of great ones out there. So electricians and just all of the crafts. It's not going away. Uh, I think the stability around it as well. And what we look at what that's done, over the test of time. And so even going back to my family sharing stories of how we made it survive the Great Depression and working for a sack of potatoes and I mean, really just very basic, but this industry has always been good to us, whatever the economic times are doing. I don't care what Wall Street's doing. I don't, this industry has always been steady. And that's, I think that's part of what you're looking for when you're building something.
Is your son gonna follow your footsteps or?
We'll see. We'll see. Right now he's in welding classes and he's got that's kind of where his passion lies at the moment, and definitely supporting that. And again, he doesn't see college in his future, which I'm totally great. But he needs to learn a skill, and so we got a pretty good program with the local school here that he's doing, and he's really enjoying it. And And so we'll see if that's where it takes him. But obviously, I'd like him to keep the legacy going and can make it 6 or 7 generations. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I went to University of Denver. I was a hockey player and a lacrosse player, and I thought I was going to play NHL. That was my dream, and I ended up being a better lacrosse player than a hockey player. And I still like you. I'm in the OGL, the Old Guys Lacrosse League, and I still, I just turned 60, and I told my wife, I said, look, Gordie Howe played till he was 63. As long as I can get X amount of shifts up and down the frozen pond or the green, or the green lawn on the turf
Mhm.
on the lax
Mhm.
field. Eventually I'll probably be in a wheelchair going down there with my stick, but I mean, I both my ACLs replaced, but, I can, my glory days are over. I scored plenty of goals. I just went so many shifts and, it's the camaraderie of being with the team and all that kind of stuff. But, talking about the trade though, we're just launching our, newsletter, coming out in February. It's called Construct EDU, and I've
Mhm.
put together a really serious database of all the trade schools across the country. And we want, listen, there's a major void of skilled tradesmen that are out there, and there's a lot of people that are going to retire, and without electricians or plumbers or millwork guys or carpenters, I can go down the list. The same thing like in aviation. There are 600,000 maintenance techs that are going to retire, and you can't just leave those planes on the tarmac sitting there. They're going to get ruined. And so I've lived it through my son with going through the public school system and then yanking him out and then
Yeah.
doing the trade school gig. And in 2 years he got his A&P license and he had to take his test and get certified FAA. And but he had to learn welding, woodworking, and all that other stuff. And being a plumber, you have to do all those things too. It's not just pipes. When you go in, you got to
Right.
know all of those different aspects and you can actually be almost like a project manager and say, hey, I know I'm a plumber, but that doesn't look like right over there.
Mhm.
As I've been looking at the framing, that guy, I don't know who the inspector, am I right?
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
get a teeth
Yeah.
because once
Whether
the drywall goes up and something happens, you got to open your mouth when you see something that doesn't look right. So, um,
Well, and I think we have I think if you go back, you think about, you mentioned your story of your grandfather and having, if you wanted to drive, you had to come out in the scrapyard. I think one of the things that got a little bit lost, I do see some positive shifts back towards this, but if you go back a generation or two, it was just common knowledge. Like, you're going to go into, the family business, the family trade, and I think as an industry, and I will speak again, not just plumbing and HVAC, but as an industry, we have to, as business owners, put some additional effort in raising up the next generation. And so some of that is recruiting conversations. Some of that is open shop apprenticeship programs, which we have within our locations. Some of that is, it's just, we got to be involved, and it's going to take, putting some intentional effort, going into this next generation. And I hear all the time, it's like, man, these what are we on, Gen Zers, and these guys, nobody's any good anymore. Nobody wants to work. And I think I don't agree with that statement. I actually find there's a lot of young guys out there, 16 to 25 years old. They do want to work hard. They just want to be shown an opportunity. I'm not going to speak for the entire generation. That's not what I'm saying. But there is a segment out there that they don't mind. We got some young guys that are on team right now. Man, they show up every day. They're on time. They work hard. But it's part of being able to create a vision for them of like, hey, this is your path forward. This is your future. This isn't just a job, but this is a career that you're building. Take it serious. And then, but also it requires us to put in the effort of, doing some early morning trainings with them and helping them meet the state requirements and all those things. But we're just one company. So it's going to require us as an industry raising these next guys up. There's a kind of a collaborative effort there.
yeah. So you work locally with the, talk about how you kind of talk about being, becoming, doing the trade versus, going the 4-year college right locally. Talk about how you do that locally.
Yeah, so we do have some connections with some of the local schools and being able to have conversations there. I do think our I'll speak for Texas, but we have locations right now and we're in 20 something states, and so this isn't a Texas thing. I think this is us as a country, we're dealing with this. But there just is a lot of ignorance on what the path is. And so most states, especially in plumbing, you don't even have to go to trade school. You just got to get your on the job hours, your registered hours. Some states have different requirements. So again, I'm aware of that. But so just getting the message out. And so when I start talking, even when I'm just meeting people at the wherever I'm at, and just starting to talk about what their next step is in life, they had no idea that they could step into this trade and make 80, 100, $120,000 a year once they get their licensing and experience. And so it's just being able to create the vision. College, I've got a daughter that's committed. She wants to go into nursing, and looking at what that bill is going to cost. That's, I don't $250,000. I don't know the exact number yet, but it's so versus, and that's money out versus when you can step into the trades, they're getting paid as they're learning. And so it's a good gig if you're young and willing to work hard, and then what does that look like long term? It doesn't mean you always have to be out busting your back, but plenty of opportunities for these young guys. We just got to get the word out to be able to do that.
Yeah, I was up in Detroit back in September, and I work with the Retail Contractors Association. Anyway, they did about an hour and a half presentation where they had several of the members. They also had the Detroit Planning Commission, and but anyway, each one of the contractors that got it, we had Home Depot there as well, and they all talked about how they go out to the schools and talk to students to kind of plant that seed. And my thing is that what I've learned is, because I was a lacrosse coach, so I did the club thing when travel with my kid, and all through the years. Uh, However, one thing that I saw was, if you want to plant the seed and get people interested in the trades, you really have to get in there between that fifth and eighth grade school, because once they get into the high school and they get I don't want to use the word indoctrinated, but brainwashed, call it whatever you want. Oh, I need to go to Florida State because they have a really cool pool and the commons, and that's, or I want to go to Duke or whatever. And listen, anybody that's going on the universities, don't get me wrong, all right. I went to University of Denver. Okay, I did a 5-year plan. I worked up on the mountain and had my pass for a year. So I get it. However, not everybody's meant to go to a 4-year school, and trade schools are a huge, huge option. But if you can plant that seed early enough and get them interested, one at a time, it's just going to help us all. And if we all put that effort in, listen, like I said, you don't have millwork, you don't have HVAC, you don't have plumbers, electricians, all that. We're not going to be able to continue building. I mean, it's just the reality of it. I mean, they say robots are going to take over, but someone's got to have to build those robots. It's a catch 22, and but that's way down the line.
We're a long ways from that. Yeah,
Yeah, way down
I
the line.
we are seeing. I don't want to completely throw everybody under the bus. We are seeing some positive movements in the right direction, and not to use a bad word on this platform, but politics is starting to catch wind of this, and so we've seen some great movements here in the state of Texas where there's funding going into the public schools to help improve these programs, and that's starting to take wind in multiple other states as well. And so, even where these trades are becoming career paths and things along those lines. So we are moving in the right direction, but maybe we're 15 or 20 years behind the curve, right? So we've got some catch
Yeah.
up to do.
Did
As
you have
far as
shop
that.
class when you went to high school, or like middle school? Did you have shop class?
So I was in that window where it's phased out. I think we had auto mechanics, but I didn't take it. But that was about it. And then they're bringing them back, and so we are seeing that it is coming back full circle, which is nice. But I'll be 40 this year, and I was of that generation where I was told the only way you ever make it in life is if you go to college. You'll never be anything in life if you don't go to college, and that's just not true. It's just not true. And I've got story after story of many who have been successful, without it. But it doesn't replace hard work, intentionality. I mean, there are key ingredients to success. And again, college can be a component of that. But uh, uh, we're making some progress. But I think as an industry, and I would say that as a construction industry, we still got a long road ahead of us. Of how are we going to continue to solve it. We, with I know something you're wanting to get into here but on this, but one of the things that's been interesting that's happened with some of the events over the last couple of years is industries that we thought were going to always be stable all of a sudden became unstable. Things like distribution, even manufacturing and some of these things that we thought would never get disrupted. And then you have entire facilities being shut down, people out of work and those kind of things. And so that's even shifted more people into the trades that I'm seeing. So again, there's a lot happening in a good direction, but it's going to require intentional effort on everyone's part in this industry going, hey, who's the guy on the ladder rung right beneath me? Can I help pull him up? Can he be the next man up type thing?
So the guys that the young guys that you find to work at, that they go out on the job, they're like you said, they're eager to work and so forth. They actually have an opportunity with 1-800 Plumber and Air that they could actually get their own office, move to another city, and open up a location. Am I correct? Is that the way you kind of operate, or?
Yeah, there's a couple ways. There's certain uh, I would say there's certain individuals who are good with their hands, are mechanically inclined, also have the desire and skill set to own a business. But I would say that's not always true, right? Just because you're a great technician doesn't necessarily translate to the desire or skill set to be a great business owner. I think they're two separate skill sets, and especially to try to build something of size and scale it and things along those lines. So we are a franchise model, and we are expanding, like I said, rapidly throughout the country. Um, uh, but most of our franchise owners are actually not owned by plumbers or AC guys or things like that. We just are finding strong business people who align with our core values and how we treat people and the value of high quality customer experience. And then we're working with them on how do we build these, how do we go and find good people in the market? How do we help recruit these apprentices? How do we train them up? And so that's part of our path of growth is finding these younger folks in the market. Now there always is opportunities for them to grow into it, but that may be a 10 or 15-year plan, depending on like where they're at in their stage of life. And so we're kind of doing it on both sides. I would say that, but more are if you look at our locations around, we are finding owners, just strong business owners, and then layering that onto what we know success looks like, and then building out success models from there.
Awesome, awesome. Let's talk about the last, 3.5 years. We're coming out. There's still some road bumps and what have you, but March of 2020, no one knew what the heck was going to go on, and here we are. It's 2024, almost 3.5 years later, and we're getting back to where we were. But like I said, there's still some hindrances, and every day I swear to God, every day I get up and I'm by the time I'm done, I am mentally drained of what the heck is going on in the world today. And I just gotta kind of put my blinders on because I got to worry about getting my own stuff done. But it's
Yep.
just it's just a whirlwind. And with AI and everything else that's coming in, everything's at warp speed. Talk about how, you and your office locations, your franchisees, et cetera, how they weathered the storm over the last 3 years, and lessons learned that maybe our listeners out there, commercial construction coffee talk, that they might not be in plumbing, but they might be in electrical or just in general. Maybe there's some brands out there that there was some knowledge nuggets that you found that might be of an interest.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're still learning, right? I would just acknowledge that. So I'm not coming at this that we've got it all figured out. I'm in the same boat with you, David, where it's like, okay, what's the next curve on the journey that we're on? But I think with the events that happened over the last 3 years, I think there was a few things that were highlighted. One is organizations that had poor company culture really struggled, and so we saw the Great Migration is what some have referred to it as, where we just saw massive people leaving the workforce. And so I think as leaders, it put some challenges in front of us, going, how do we motivate our people to still show up to work every single day? So we were an essential service, so we didn't get shut down. And a lot of what we do is more on the service and repair side, both in residential and commercial settings. And so when all the businesses shut down, there was not a lot of commercial volume, but then everyone retreated back to their homes, and then the residential volume went up. And so it created some stability in our model. We actually saw quite a bit of increase in revenue in 2020. and then things kind of stabilized in 2021. But my first priority was like, how do we, we had guys working for us that we also we do a lot of work for hospitals, and the sinks backed up in the COVID wing of the hospital, and they're calling my company for us to send technicians out there to go and unstop this sink. How do we lead from the front and not from the back, to where we're protect safety is obviously is number one priority, but also we couldn't retreat to our basements and just go, well, we'll just weather this thing out for 3 years like others did. And so that was probably the first thing that I realized, is that the companies with strong cultures were able to weather the storm far better than companies that where their culture was unstable, but they were just able to ride the economic highs through it. And so just the value of our people, like how do we treat it, treating our people well, communicating well, acknowledging what it is. I think our industry as a whole, I think we are, if I was to summarize the company culture within our industry, it's not great. Most, there's some very unhealthy cultures within a lot of organizations that I see. And so, and then when times get tough and you need your guy to go the extra mile, but you've been treating him like crap for the last 6 months, the likelihood of him willing to take that, they don't always do it, and most of the time they won't. And so that was, I think, just something that was a key thing that highlighted. One of the things that really highlighted was like, man, our people, this is the time that we got to come together, we got to lock arms, and we just got to plow through it. And thankfully we were able to do so, rather successfully as part of that.
Okay, were you gonna say something else?
There's a few other things that I get, a few other takeaways that I've got there too, but
Sure.
we had the same issues, supply chain issues, all of those kind of things that we were dealt with, and then we right on the heels of all that in 2021, we had a really bad freeze event in
Oh yeah,
Texas.
the
I
freeze.
guess we made national news, not in a good way, where it was a fairly disastrous event and throughout the entire state, and which even exacerbated some of the more supply chain challenges and labor shortages and all those kind of things. And so it got us to be, we had to be more strategic on our planning, work, strengthening our relationships with our vendors, understanding, where we at from what's available, what's not available. And so really had to tighten up our processes there to maintain as much efficiency as possible, as well as trying to improve our communication to our customer, and those type of things. And so, I think those are some of the early learning moments in 20 and 21 of kind of where we were at then, and then since then where you've kind of saw a shift. I feel like I did, late 22, early 23, to where things are back, but it's not. The expectations have shifted some, and you mentioned AI and some of the stuff that's really moving fast, but we're starting to see, some customer expectations shift. More and more buying experiences are going to almost exclusive digital, where the ordering groceries, and literally you just jump on your phone, order groceries, and they show up at your house. Or same thing with food and restaurants and things like that. Like we created a buying experience that we became quite comfortable with, and I say we as a country, where no person interaction could happen, and it was great. And so for us, being in the residential and commercial service business, we had to start adapting to that, going, okay, well, what technology do we need to implement? How do we handle that customer experience? Because we can't take the customer out completely. We're inside their home, but also give them a familiar buying experience that they're, and how they're handling Uber, or how they're handling groceries, or those type of things as well. So that's probably been the more of our focus over the last 18 to 24 months of recognizing some of those differences, and how we are as a society today.
Yeah, the companies that I've spoken with, whether it's, been on my podcast or travels, really depending on what state you were in. You were in Texas, I was in Georgia, we were open. I had 3 or 4 construction projects. I looked at all the construction guys. Hey, look, they had to get their projects done. They didn't stop. They put their masks on. They got on the planes. They went over there. And it really depended on what state you're. A plumber, you guys are close together. So if you,
Yep.
if you were in a state where the regulations weren't that, as tight, you get the project done. But then if you go across the state line in the next state next to you, that's on the other side, and they've got all these regulations, you probably couldn't get the project done. So that there was that. Then there were the company culture thing was like the biggest thing I think that owners had to, they wanted to keep their company culture together. And then when things opened up, how did you get your employees to come back that were working out of their homes, that they wanted to go to ball games and concert, but they didn't want to go back to the office. So, and that's why we have an occupancy rate, less than 50% in the real estate market, which
Yep.
is a whole other story these days. But and and who knows what's going to happen to those buildings? They're going to have to get retrofitted eventually. I don't know. But it's the people like you said that were nimble. Just like myself, I was a print face-to-face guy. I turned on a dime, and I was lucky I had a digital magazine. We had it forever. I didn't realize I had all this content, and we just made the switch. And it's dicey after 20 years of being print face-to-face, and then you go the digital route. But now I look back, I'm a completely different company than I was
Yeah.
3 years ago. And but I'm reaching so many more people, and yeah, but I couldn't have done it if I didn't have, I didn't have guts because I had to make a decision, because it's dicey when you're making a change. And but you always have to, you have to be open to learning, and you got to stay positive, and and just keep your blinders on, and don't get preoccupied with all the stuff that you can't control in the world. And just like weather, you can't control it. You just got to move on.
Just got to
And
adapt to it.
so many companies that I've talked to, they had some of their best years over the last couple of years. They made a positive out of a negative, and they worked quickly. And I don't even want to use the word pivot because that word everybody was using way back when. And but they made the changes, and now it's been unbelievable to see. Pete, the only thing that stopped a lot of, whether it was a GC or a brand opening up new locations, was having more PMs or superintendents that they could find so they could, oversee these jobs. Because you never want to bite off more than you can chew. And in retail, if it's a retail store or a restaurant, they always have a grand opening. They have the circulars printed, and that's how they back up their project schedule, to build the store or renovate it, whatever they might be doing. And those people are so much ahead of the curve than the ones that, were some of these bigger corporations that are like, big battleships that take forever to turn. I was kind of like a little destroyer or a minesweeper,
Mhm.
and I can, put it in military terms. But it's been amazing though, because some of the people, they was like, oh my God, I had some of the best years that I ever had. I just wish I had more people and I could have gotten more work done. And um, but it's exciting to hear your story that uh, you had to figure things out, and once you did, you kind of rolled with it, and then now, like you said, AI and all these other things, you just, like I said, every day there's something else that comes up where I'm like, wow, that's amazing, and um,
And I
so
think it's maybe adapt would be a word more than pivot, because for us it's we had what's our non-negotiables, and I think that's what we got real clear on, is what is our non-negotiables. And best is a word that we use, and and for us a non-negotiable, our goal every single day is how do we give the customer the best experience that they've ever encountered, like that's. And so, but realizing there's maybe multiple ways to get there. And so as we have adapted in our processes, it's like, okay, well, whatever we do, we can't sacrifice the customer experience. So how do we improve communicate? What are the pain points and how do we solve those things? And so as we've adapted over that. And so if you're out there and listen and you own a business or whatever that is, it's like, once you get clear on your non-negotiables, it's like, no, whatever we do, this is what's going to be done. And it allows some flexibility, because, like it or don't like AI, it's here. And so how do you adapt to it? And when is it, you don't want to be too early on the curve where you're the guinea pig, but you don't want to be late to the party either where you're missing out. And so it's being willing to adapt. And I think we're going to see some pretty significant changes over the next 3 to 5 years, as if you look at how fast things are moving and the direction that we're headed. But the ones that are getting left behind are the ones that are going, nope, we've been doing it this way for years, and I'm not doing it any different. My family's been doing plumbing for 120 plus years, or almost 120 years. If we're a way different company than we were in the 80s, and if we
yeah,
were still doing things on pen and paper and well, that's just the way we've always done it, we would be left in the dust. And so, but our core values doesn't have to shift. And so we can hang tight on that of which we know are non-negotiables, and then just adapt, as needed.
What's a cool product that's new, that's up and coming, that's hitting the plumbing market, or air, HVAC?
Yeah.
Because I know
Well,
the
some,
HVAC show just happened in Chicago, which I normally
yeah.
walk, but I walked it here last year, so I'm like, yeah, I walk about every other year. But what do you see out there that maybe,
Yeah, I think some things that have been really highlighted, I think, over the last couple of years on just the value of them is I think we have become more heightened on what we are putting into our body and what we're exposing our body to, and so air quality is, I think, is far more on the forefront. It's not brand new technology, but it just keeps getting better. So UV light treatment and things like that on how do we make sure if there is bugs floating or sicknesses or bacteria floating around in our home, how can we help protect our families? So that's I think that's been a big again, not relatively new, but there's just been more keen awareness on it with that. And I would say the same thing on plumbing. Water treatment continues to become a major thing in most markets. You mentioned you're in the North Atlanta area. Your water's not great. I'm in Houston. Our water's not great. In most parts of the country, that's true. And so even just that, being more aware of that water usage, and so more conservation efforts. But I would say overall, I think where we're headed is more and more things right on our phone. And so the being able to control your systems within your home. And so, there's products out now where you're going on vacation, you push one button on your phone, your main water shutoff valve shuts off, motorized valve shuts off, and then you don't have to worry about, that being done. And, same thing with your AC systems and those type of things. And so, everything continues to be more and more of a micro controlled experience. Um, um, Everything going right back down to an app on our phone. And so, yeah, that's where I think we're shifting, I think, as an industry as a whole.
Awesome, awesome. So if someone was out there and they were thinking about they've got a project coming up and how they were going to do it, whether it was plumbing or air or et cetera, how would someone reach out to you to bounce some questions off you?
Sure. Well, our company, 1-800 Plumber Plus Air, but our 1-800 Plumber is our name, is our number, our website, 1-800plumber.com. Super easy to reach us as a company. I'm on LinkedIn, Mark Collins, CEO, 1-800 Plumber Plus Air. You can always find me there. It's a great place. Me and my team monitor that well, and happy to connect with whoever and send messages and things like that. If you're interested in becoming a part of our franchise system, 1-800plumberfranchise.com is where you can find that information. But if you just have a question, projects, like I said, we're in 20 states. It's not a Texas thing currently as we sit today. So we've got locations as far in the Northeast as Seattle, Washington, and Portland, and throughout California up into on the or the Northwest, and then on the Northeast we've got from Boston to Connecticut to New York, all the way down to South Florida, and spread out there in between. And so and we expect to double this year. So a lot of good things happening here with us. But we're looking, always want to partner with people that value others. We're a very much people first organization. And whether that's on the vendor side, whether that's on whatever that looks like. But people are our path to success, and that's what we're preaching on.
So everybody out there, listen, if you've got any plumbing or air questions, LinkedIn's probably the place to play them, or you can find them on 1A Plumber if you want to, look at the franchisee as an option as well. You got several options. Mark's an expert. Listen, talking to someone, fifth generation, company's been around since the early 1900s. I mean, it's an awesome, awesome experience. You're talking to someone, family generations, and brothers are still in there. So if you have anything, reach out to Mark. He's an expert, and I can say that just because of the amount of time that his family's been in business, uh, over 100 years, and that's a serious benchmark to be in business that long time. And without customer service and doing a good job, you don't stay in business that long. I can just tell you. If someone wants to reach me, I'm at David C at ccr-mag.com. Listen, Mark got on the show because his publicist sent me a press release, and I looked at it. We went back and forth, got him on the calendar, and here he is. So listen, don't judge anything by its cover. And I know I always say it, but listen, if you don't buy a lottery ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me a press release, or it could be on your anniversary of your company, it could be a new personnel announcement, it could be a new product release, it could be a charity donation golf tournament to do. We look at everything. Send it to us. We post content all day long. We're a destination site. We're content builders. That's what I am. So send it to me. And very tough to get in the magazine, but we have all these other social media channels that we post on and blog and do all that kind of communicating. Um, Send it to us because we'll find a spot for it. And if we do post it, we'll send you the URL. You share it. It's good for your SEO, which is search engine optimization. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's how Google finds you. And uh, it's just a win-win. So send me stuff. We look at it. So as we finish up, Mark, I always ask my guests if there was one positive thought or phrase that you'd want to leave with our listeners out there, what would it be as we start the year off and we're still in Q1 and go through the rest of
Sure.
the remainder of 2024.
Yeah, I'll just keep this simple. And if you're a business owner or thinking about being a business owner, or maybe you've got some personal goals for yourself, my advice is don't quit. And I would say that the thing that I see often is people just quit too soon. The path to success doesn't happen instantly. It takes time, it takes hard work. The Facebook, Instagram glamour life makes us believe otherwise, but the path to success is hard work. And so my encouragement to you, if you're at that place, man, that just keep grinding, and that's what drives success. Is so just in short, I would just say don't quit.
Yeah, listen. I love never quit because I'm a coach, and you can ask my son, like, you finish what you start.
Yep.
Okay, you just have to do it that way. Never, ever, ever quit. And you're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn from them. So when you go back and do another one, you're going to know how to do it. And there's nothing wrong about making mistakes and having little bumps in the road and so forth, because that's how you get better at things. It's just like riding a horse. You're down in Texas. I know you got plenty of horses down there. You get bucked off. Guess what? You brush the dirt off you. You put your foot in the saddle and the stirrup, and you get back on that horse and get
Right.
going again. Am I right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'll just leave you with mine. I nurture I'm a digital guy, so I post stuff, every day, on my pages. And the last night I posted something, live in the moment. You know,
Mm.
life's short. You got to give it your best. And most important, stay positive. Don't surround yourself with negative people. Get rid of them because I don't have time for it. They're just going to bring you down and bring, your company down. And you can surround yourself with positive people that have your own vision and et cetera. So a couple things before we finish. Number one, if you're out on that construction site, we want you to be safe. We want you to get home. We want you to be able to eat dinner with your kids and your family. Catch some Z's and go up and, do it the next day. Number two, I know it's still, actually it's nice here today, but it's still winter, but summer's coming. Hey, listen, stay liquefied. Put some powder electrolytes in your water. Drink. Getting hydrated is the worst thing you can do. As an athlete or a plumber or a construction manager on the site, you get headaches. That's when mistakes happen. So be safe and stay liquefied. And we want you to get there. And hey, and last but not least, hey, listen, Magic Mind. If you never tried it, go check it out. Find all the really cool stores, Sprouts and probably Whole Foods or whatever. Very, very cool. Check it out and get off that energy drink and stop drinking coffee and caffeine. It's not good for you. And you'll be able to have clarity and you'll have that non-stressful thing and all that kind of stuff. So, Mark, pleasure having you. From down in Houston. My condolences for the Texans. They had a great season. But look, I'm from Philly, but I'm here in Dirty Birdland and the Falcons, and hey, but they had a really, really good run, and very bright future down there. For the Texans next
We claim Jalen Hurts too. He's a Houston boy, so we'll claim him. So if you're an
year.
Eagles fan, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, listen, I was pulling for him. So there you go.
there you
So,
go.
all right. So listen,
Thank you so much,
everybody.
David. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate the time. So listen, everybody out there, have a great rest of the Q1 and the remainder of the year. Before you know it, it's going to be Christmas again. And, just have fun, smile, and, keep your blinders on. Don't worry about things that you can't control. So, everybody out there, have a great rest of the week, and the weekend's coming up here in a couple of days, and then you got the Super Bowl coming up, and then hey, spring will be here before you know it, and make the best of it. So, Mark, if I get down to Houston, I'm going to look you up, and maybe we'll go on a project and see some of your guys in action. Fair enough?
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be
I'd
great.
love to see it. I'd love to see it. And for all you out there in commercial construction coffee talk, hey, make sure you hit that like button because we want to get algorithms so people can find this episode and find out 1-800-Plumber and Air and CCCT as well. And we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Mark, you're the best. Thank you so much. And everybody out there, ciao. We'll see you next time.